Welcome everybody to the first webinar for this year's Reduce, Reuse, Recycle Palooza. We're kicking off our metaphorical road trip with a celebration of reuse around the state. I'm your driver. My name is Leah Kelleher. I'm part of our Recycle Smart MA team alongside Janice Perret and Kathy Dudnoff, who are also on this call, and they'll be helping me out to make things run smoothly as we go. Before we pile into our imaginary car, we got a little VW bug here in the left-hand corner. I'm going to set the stage a bit, and I'm going to talk about reuse very briefly, why it matters, and then we've got presentations from 3 lovely people who are making reuse happen across our state. And that's going to be the bulk of our time together tonight, and then we'll finish up with some Q&A so you can ask all your burning questions. So we're probably all familiar with the phrase reduce, reuse, recycle. I know that I heard it quite a bit growing up in Vermont. I would hear it in science class. We had a green up day every year. We go pick up trash, and that mantra would always come up. But I want to take a minute to remind us that there's a reason why we say it in that order. Reduce, reuse, recycle. And really, it's in the order of most impact. So first, we can reduce how much we use in the first place, then reuse stuff for as long as possible, give it to somebody else who can keep reusing it. And then finally, we can recycle what's left, what's no longer reusable or repairable. And because this is Recycle Smart, I need to, of course, add the caveat that not everything is recyclable. We still need to recycle the right stuff, and you can hear more about that tomorrow night in tomorrow night's webinar. And beyond reduce, reuse, recycle, there's a lot of other R's we could add. You may have seen this graphic if you follow us on social media or you read our newsletters, which I hope you do if you're on this call. But this is our reframing of the waste hierarchy. Still, again, in order of impact with things like rethink and refuse at the top, all the way down to recycle. And I don't have time to walk through all of the R's. We've got a great newsletter, actually, that does just that, and Kat's going to drop that into the chat so you can save it for your reading later. Tonight, of course, we're going to focus on that middle R, reuse, but just also want to acknowledge that there's some overlap with the other R's on here, like repair and reduce. They're not all, mutually exclusive. And that's just a little arrow pointing to reuse, because that's our topic tonight. Speaking of impact, there's a lot of reasons why reuse matters. It conserves natural resources, energy, it helps avoid planet-warming greenhouse gas emissions, all those emissions that come from making new stuff. So in a lot of ways, it's a form of climate action. It also keeps stuff out of the trash, which helps reduce the burden on our landfills and our incinerators where our trash goes after it's picked up. And then beyond waste reduction, it also has all of these awesome social benefits. It builds community and local resilience. It can support local jobs, which we'll hear about a little bit later. It can increase access to affordable goods. And in times of emergency or uncertainty, unfortunately, a lot of us experience throughout our lives, donations of reused stuff can be a great way to help people get back on their feet. And we're actually going to hear an example of that as well later from one of our speakers. And I would be remiss if I didn't also mention the really amazing, maybe best thing about reuse, at least for our wallets, is that it saves us money. On the right here, it's just a little social media reel from our Instagram account, just showing ditching single use. It's just a little bit of a teaser of some of the great social media we put out as Recycle Smart around this stuff. I also just want to take a second to acknowledge that reuse can look like a lot of different things, and it can show up in a lot of different places around our state. So your city or town might have a swap shop or a zero waste day. I think there's over 100 swap shops around Mass at this point. Libraries are like the original reuse hubs. Garage sales, community sales, online marketplaces, food and drink in reusable containers, furniture banks. There's a lot here. And you can see some of the picture examples of stuff happening around the state. And a quick plug with the holidays coming up. There's so many secondhand stores that have unique, quirky treasures. And I know I recently found some things for my mom. She might be on the call, so I'm not going to mention what exactly it is. But there's just a lot of great stuff out there and a lot of great online resources to get inspired to buy secondhand for the holidays. So Kat's going to put another link to Center for Biological Diversity's Simplify the Holidays gift guide, which has a Pinterest. It's got all sorts of stuff to get you reusing. And then we also have our Beyond the Bin directory where you can find reuse outlets for both secondhand shopping and donating your stuff. Okay, I'm done blabbering. So I'm going to turn it over to our speakers. First, we're going to hear from Amber Schmidt with Clean Water Action's Rethink Disposable program, and then Asia Baez with Hand Up Mattress. And then finally, our final stop is going to be Lori Simmons with UMass Amherst New to You Thrift Shop. I also just want to note that all of these organizations have been recently funded, received a grant from Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection to support their reuse work. Okay, Amber, take it away.
Great. Hi. And thanks for having me, and thanks everyone for coming tonight. So my name's Amber. I'm the New England Zero Waste Organizer with Clean Water Fund's Rethink Disposable program. What we do is we work with establishments to eliminate single-use disposable foodware, which is the #1 source of inland trash. Which of course then makes its way into the ocean and becomes a major source of ocean plastic pollution as well. And also can contain myriad of toxic chemicals, which then get into our body and into the environment via microplastics. So our mission is to stop trash before it starts. And we do that by working with schools, restaurants, emergency food providers, and even event spaces to eliminate single-use disposables and replace them with reusable alternatives. So today I'm going to talk about a program that we started on the Cape with Truro Community Kitchen, a project that was also funded by a Mass DEP Reduce, Reuse, Repair micro grant. Next slide. So, Truro Community Kitchen fights food security insecurity in Massachusetts. They deliver, home-cooked meals that they make every Tuesday at the Christian Union Church in Truro, Massachusetts. So they do all of the preparation, packaging, and delivery of the meals to all of the households that sign up. It is completely anonymous for residents of Truro to sign up for this program, so there's no questions asked, and it is entirely voluntarily run. So all of the drivers, all of the folks who are cooking the food are all members of the community giving back to the community. Next slide. So this is actually a little older of a presentation, so this is more meals to date. But since 2020, about a year ago, the number TCK had provided at that time was about 26,000 meals to food insecure households throughout Truro. And as you can see in that photo there, as with most free meal delivery programs or free meal programs in general, they are served entirely in single-use disposable packaging and foodware. Um, the meals do contain enough for at least 2 meals per person in each household. This photo shows clear plastic, but they were also using the infamous black plastic that we all know can contain toxic chemicals like flame retardants if it is made from recycled electronics, or can be made from polystyrene and contain toxic styrene. So definitely, and also non-recyclable. So a certain plastic that we definitely want to eliminate, especially going to food insecure and potentially health folks with health issues. So the solution was to swap out each of the disposable containers with a reusable alternative and deliver that to the recipients within a reusable bag. We really felt that the whole system needed to be reusable. If we put reusable containers inside of a disposable bag, then something in it became disposable, then anything becomes disposable. It's really about the full behavior change. If everything within the meal can be returned to Truro Community Kitchen, it becomes a lot easier to maintain that program. Next slide. So there's definitely obstacles to get this program up. The first is getting containers returned. Most reusable container programs rely on some type of incentive to get these containers returned, right? Otherwise, people will just take the containers. So it's usually a financial incentive, either an upfront deposit for the containers that then the customer can exchange for another container or a token. That's a very common system that you see on college campuses. Or a more tech-enabled system where you download an app and you check out the container like a library code using a QR code system, and you are charged if you don't return the container, much like you're charged a late fee if you don't return a library book. Unfortunately, when we're dealing with folks who are already food insecure, we cannot tie a financial stick to these containers, right? We need to be able to provide them for free. So we had to figure out how are we going to make sure that we're able to get the containers returned without that financial decentive, I guess, is what it really would be. And then also washing and drying. The Christian Union Church, although they had a wonderful kitchen that was able to prepare all the meals, it did not contain a dishwasher. It does have the 3 sink system required for sanitizing their big pots and pans that they cook in, but nowhere near what they would need for capacity of, sanitizing the 116 meals plus that are going out in these containers each week, as well as storage of those containers. And then lastly, generating support. Will the recipients of the program want to continue the success of the program, be receptive to the program, and will the volunteers and the staff take on this added work of incorporating reuse into their existing program that they're doing? So these were some pretty big obstacles to overcome. Next slide. So the first one was getting back the containers. We don't have a program if we don't have containers. So we wanted to make sure that recipients were aware of how the system was going to work. So for 3 weeks prior to the launch of the reusable containers, we sent flyers explaining the system. the way that the system works. We'll kind of go over a little bit more in detail, but they would receive the containers, have their meal, ask them to rinse the containers, and then the following week leave those containers in the reusable bag on their steps. Just important that they remember to do that step so that we can then pick them up. So for 3 weeks, we would just reiterate every time those meals would go out, every time the drivers would interact with the recipients, that they would remind them, hey, in 2 weeks, this is going to happen. Hey, remember, this is going to change on this date. Um, and so just really that education piece. Washing and drying, we were really, I was amazed at the community support. I guess maybe I shouldn't be amazed. The Cape is wonderful and Truro is amazing. And Truro Public, the central school there, stepped up and said that they will donate the use of their commercial dishwasher every week to volunteers at TCK to wash and sanitize the containers. And so it is the school is actually just like less than a mile from the Christian Union Church where the cooking takes place. So it's a very short distance. It's very easy for the drivers to be able to drop the containers off there as opposed to going back to the church. So that worked out wonderfully. And the Christian Union Church, where the meals are prepped and packaged, allows TCK to store the containers there in lieu of having all of their single-use disposable containers. We found that it really takes up just the same amount of space. In fact, it can actually take up less space because you actually know how many containers you need. So you're not ordering a bunch of single-use containers to have on hand because maybe there was a sale. And so now you've got, a storage of single-use containers. Now you just have your set reusables that you have that take up the set space that they need. Um, Also, in getting support for these types of programs, really important to make sure that you are getting support from the Board of Health, making sure that you're all of the steps that you're taking through the commercial sanitation, the air drying, and all of that are being followed, and that they're involved in this process. And so we sent out letters, we got support through that. And the program was just quickly just loved by the recipients, the community, and has been a huge success and has been ongoing since then. Next slide. So I went over it a little bit, but each week the meals are prepared in the reusable containers. We ask that the recipients rinse the containers out. They don't have to really put them through a dishwasher or really scrub them. They can just rinse them out or clean them as much as they can to get them sanitary-ish enough to have them sit for about a week, and then put them back in those branded reusable bags that the following week we ask them to put on their doorstep. When the drivers come around to drop off the new meals in these bags, these are bags that are ready to go out, they then pick up the old containers, drive them to the central school where the green crew volunteers are there, and they sanitize, wash, wait for them to dry, pack them, store them, and bring them back to the church. Next slide. We haven't done analysis since then. There has obviously been more loss than this, but after the first week of implementation, we had great results. Containers were coming back returned, they were coming back clean, and we've continued to see that. With some loss rate, they have had to add some containers. Some have gotten eaten by dogs, chewed by dogs, or I think a few may have gotten grabbed by raccoons as they sat outside one day or something. But there's a few that have gone here and there. But overall, from the beginning of this program to today, it is still ongoing, and the community really finds that it's been a wonderful addition and is eliminating a massive amount of single-use plastic, and in doing so, saving TCK over $5,000 a year in the purchase of disposable plastics. I think the last slide, I think that's it. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Amber. Every time I hear that presentation, it continues to just be so inspiring, making reuse work despite all the obstacles that you brought up. Okay, next we have Asia. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having us, and thank you everyone for being here tonight. My name is Asia Baez. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Hand Up Mattress Recycling and Resale. And so I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit more about the resale side of our operations and how, at its core, we really just try to bring quality, affordable mattresses to the local neighborhood of New Bedford, to the wider Massachusetts area, and with some cool new tech to the greater continental US, to give a little sneak peek about some very exciting machinery that has really expanded what we're able to, the community that we're able to serve, and the reach we're able to do through this resale program. Go through the next slide. So we source our mattresses in two ways. So we, like I mentioned, have a recycling program. And so through which we partner with towns and cities, retailers, apartment complexes, junk haulers, individuals, and we take in, this year it'll be close to 80,000 mattresses. So thousands of mattresses per month. And about 1% of those mattresses that we receive through this recycling program, we deem possible to clean, sanitize, and resell. We also have a partnership with an intermediary organization called ShareTown. And so they connect us directly to customers who have purchased a mattress from a manufacturer and are within their warranty period. And so for whatever reason, customer will reach out to this intermediary, provide their details, and we leverage our trucks that are out picking up curbside recycling, and we pick up those units, and then we'll bring them back to go through our upcycling process. And so, yeah, those are kind of two main avenues. And we do all of our both recycling and upcycling, as we call it, at our recycling facility in New Bedford and Duchesne Boulevard. You can go to the next slide. And so when a mattress comes in, particularly through our recycling program, we have certain qualifications that we look for in order to deem it eligible for resale. And so primarily that is brand. We look really for recognizable brands that we can establish a retail value for, and that customers can recognize and trust the quality of. Next, we'll look at the age of the mattress. For the most part, they'll come back still with manufacturer tags, and we can look at, how old it is and get a sense of more or less how much use it's undergone, and analyze that alongside, what the mattress looks like visually. And we aim to really only try to give extended life to those within 3 years, so as to continue to promise a certain level of quality to these mattresses. And of course, we look at wear and tear, if there's anything visual that we think we can overcome. But ultimately, our sanitation team has the autonomy to decide, what we can and can't salvage or sell. And the rule of thumb, which I feel is really reasonable, is that unless we ourselves would take it home, we're not going to put it on a shelf for anybody else. And so, we try to walk the walk. All of our staff do in fact have or are offered hand-up mattresses. I have one of my own. And so, yeah, we just try to put out, something that we, again, ourselves would want in our homes. And I think that has helped guide us making decisions as to what can and can't be extended. And so really this, for the most part, is how we screen through the units that come through recycling. But through ShareTown, again, for the most part, all of these are coming from within 100 to 365 days from purchase, and very often within 6 months of manufacture. So these are really new units, and some often even come still in their original packaging in plastic and sometimes even a box. And so we still put them all through our sanitization process and label them with a red tag that indicates that they are a resale item, and it includes the date that they underwent the sanitization process necessary. Next slide. And so here you can see a little preview into what that looks like. And so Digna on the left there is undergoing the manual cleaning process, which for a non-removable topper, which for the most part is anything that has inner spring or steel coils on the inside, they for the most part will not have kind of a removable lining. And so we're a little bit more limited as to how we can treat, any stains, tears, anything compromised on the mattress. So we're a little bit more choosy with these, knowing that we have to be very delicate and really just spot clean anything that we see. And so you'll see the final part of the process is really just spraying over with Sterifab, and it's a cleaning agent that really just protects against molds, mildew, um, viruses, bed bugs, all the things, and is kind of the final wand of safety to brandish the mattress with before we wrap it in plastic and put it on our shelves. And removable toppers, as you're seeing now on the right, we do have the ability to, again, remove, and we'll still do a hand washing process, but then also complement with washing through an industrial washer. And before we, again, same process, tag and indicate the date that it was sanitized. And so about between 100, about 100 to 150 mattresses per month go through this process and enter our shelves. And we also upcycle box springs through a similar process and offer those on our shelves as well. And we do about 30 of those per month. And we are licensed by the state of Massachusetts to do these. And yeah, you can go ahead and go to the next slide. And so this is our infamous roll and pack machine. And so what you're seeing here is we have basically the ability to feed mattresses into it, where they then get compressed and sealed airtight into plastic. And then depending on the size of the mattress, for the most part, kings and queens, will then go on to get essentially folded in half to then be rolled in a more compressed fashion so that we can put them essentially back into a box. And so this has allowed us to offer our mattresses even outside of Massachusetts and to be able to ship them across the United States. Yeah, so in this example that you're seeing, I believe that was a queen, if my eyes are correct. And so we fold it again just to keep it a little bit more compressed. And they come out into a box around 46 by 16 by 16. And typically under 150 pounds. So not totally comfortable for one person, but between two people, you can get these by. And you can go to the next slide. And so we have both a physical retail store location, which I'm currently in, where we do offer these mattresses locally, and this is in the north end of New Bedford. But we also have extended our presence online, and so we have a website where we use the platform Shopify, where all of our products are available. But we have also ventured into using eBay as another way to reach people in the wider United States. Who are looking for, maybe certain brand or certain quality of mattress, but don't have, a resale option in their area. And in addition to what we do in store and online, we also have several nonprofit partners such as Fresh Start Furniture Bank, whom we provide anywhere between 25 to 50 mattresses per month, which we either will donate directly or for those clients like Fresh Start who have kind of a recurring monthly order that we help replenish. We offer a low price that allows us to continue the business because there is a cost to the reselling process, the plastic, the labor, all these things. So kind of just at cost we can offer, but just so that we can continue to make available inventory for organizations that are getting them out there to the people that need them. And you can go to the next slide, sorry. Yeah, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention a little bit more about our why. I mean, we essentially are for people, planet, while also, keeping in mind profit, but not for the sake of it, So we're really trying to look at our environmental impact, our economic impact, and our community impact. And so we commit 60% of our yearly profits to help our immigrant and refugee neighbors. And very often it's reflected even in our direct staff. And so what you'll see pictured above is what we offer to any one of our 24 full-time employees. We have volunteer English teachers who come into our factory and during working hours will come and provide those lessons, and just a place and a time that is sustainable for people to be able to dedicate towards upskilling and getting them closer to whatever their goals may be, whether it's obtaining a driver's license, additional education, GEDs, and other support. So we are Hands Up Mattress Recycling and Resale, and thanks again for having us.
Thanks so much, Asia. Every time I see that roll and pack machine video, I'm just amazed at how much the mattresses compress. It's wild to me. And seeing it all like rolled up at the end. So cool. Geek out. Okay, and then finally we've got Lori.
I'm Laurie Simmons. I'm the Assistant Campus Sustainability Manager at UMass Amherst, and I oversee the New to You Move Out Reuse Program and now Thrift Store on campus. You can slide. Just a quick background. We are really big. We are complicated. We basically operate as a small city. And you can see that little yellow arrow there. That's actually pointing to our thrift store location, which is right in the center of this our largest residential area on campus, which houses, I think, like a third of all of our students, like 5,000-ish. Slide. Background of New to You, as I mentioned, we started out as a move out reuse program. So in 2014, we had our first spring move out collection. And in that fall, we had our first tag sale. And over the next years, we expanded collections across campus and used various temporary locations for our storage and tag sale operation. Then in 2024, campus finally gave us permanent space. And so we now have that in Hampton Commons. Slide. So this is our space in Hamden. It is a former dining commons. There are now 2 dining commons on either side of it. So we're not like supplanting food for campus, but you can see one of the large residential towers in the background. And on the right-hand side, the top picture is our front room space. And this is a space that we use as our thrift store. And then in the back, which is actually a slightly larger space, we use to collect during move out furniture and large items. And then during the school year, it's meant to be sort of like our hangout, like swing space, event space where we can partner with different community and student organizations on campus. Slide. You can, yeah. So this is what it looks like during move out. So we have to take apart the thrift store or set this up in the case since before we had the thrift store. And basically the whole front room gets filled with these giant pallet-sized boxes called gaylords, and we just have them organized by category. So like we'll have 4 of these giant boxes for kitchen supplies, and one giant box ends up filled with Swiffers, and another few giant boxes with decor, and so on and so forth. And then in the back room, it gets completely filled with mini fridges, microwaves on that nice industrial shelving. We end up with a giant pile of furniture and then an even more giant pile of plastic storage, which you can kind of see eking out on the right of that picture. Slide. This is a super quick video of what it looks like during our move-in tag sale. So this is the front space set up for the tag sale. Bustling with activity. We have roughly like 2,000 students come to the tag sale. It's a one-day tag sale during move-in weekend every year. So after the tag sale last year, we had to switch gears and figure out how we were going to turn our permanent space into a thrift store. So we had our student sustainability fellow who was actually interested in thrift stores, and she actually designed our business plan and operations manual for the store, and then she launched a survey to get an idea of what students in the campus community wanted to see in a thrift store that was on campus. And then we also used resources from the Post Landfill Action Network. We applied to and were very thankful to receive a Mass DEP RRR grant. And that helped us actually purchase a large amount of secondhand retail fixtures from the Great Exchange, another reuse organization in the state. So it was a great example of reuse supporting reuse. We were also very lucky to get a donation from a student group on campus that just had some budget left to spend towards the end of their operating year. And so they helped us outfit a little bit more in terms of retail fixtures. Next slide. So this is what the space looked like after the tag sale, but before we turned it back into a thrift store. It's just boxes and stuff here and there. And we also spent this time to build out our team. So knowing from the past and new to you operations that volunteers are wonderful, but you can't always count 100% on volunteers. So we knew that we would have to hire some paid staffing, and we still really wanted that to be student staff. So we hired a 20-hour per week student store manager. That's Ava on the top left. She was the student, the sustainability fellow who designed the thrift store manual. So she sort of like naturally transitioned into this role. And then we hired 3 additional support roles, coordinators, inventory management, marketing and events coordinator, and a volunteer coordinator. And then we just started talking about the thrift store and opening the thrift store and promoting the grand opening. Slide. And in February of this year, we had our grand opening and ribbon cutting at the New to You thrift store. Slide. We tried as best we could to talk about it as much as possible, because as you know, doing all of this important work is great, but it's so important to get the word out. And finding that time is really hard, but I really encourage you to like make space for that. We got a lot of great publicity in local newspapers. We used our social media. I submitted Ava for a student employee award, and she won it. And that resulted in a video being created about her and the store and the whole situation. And then just a few weeks ago, we hosted the Mass Recycle Campus Collaborative on the UMass Amherst campus, and we highlighted other reuse. We highlighted a campus makerspace, our surplus operation, and then of course the New to You thrift store. Slide. So the next few slides are just some pictures of the store, and just like you can see, like just sort of the joyful energy that the space just fosters. You can go to the next slide. Our store manager, Ava, really likes to set everything up like as if you're going to live there. So kind of like an IKEA feel. So creating these like little spaces, like a little living music nook. And then we created a pretend bed out of a folding table. And then, you know, we do like place settings and everything. It just feels homey, and people can see how the items they could use in their home, in their apartment, in their dorm room. Next slide. And one of the things that Ava shared with me about her, why she organizes the things the way she does, is she used to work at a farmer's market, and the farmer would always say, people eat with their eyes first. So you need to organize things so that things look really nice and people will be more interested in shopping it. So a lot of our clothes are organized by color. You can kind of see that on the left, and the books by color. It's really inviting way to like come into a space and look through stuff. Slide. So we have a social media account, newtoyou.umass, and we put out lots of stuff. Maitri and Ava have a really fun time with it. And I don't know, Leah, if we have time still, but if you wanted to show this quick little reel, this was a reel that they created right before we reopened for thrift after the tag sale, because we have to break down for a few weeks and then go through a metamorphosis, as you can see on one of these posts on the left, until we open as a thrift store again.
I think we'll keep going for now, but definitely check out this reel. Check out New to You's Instagram. And you're also on Facebook too?
We have a UMass Sustain Facebook account, but New to You is just on Instagram.
Okay. Check out the Instagram. And we'll come back to it in the end if we have a minute.
Cool. We also we want to build a lot of community around New to You and reuse and circularity. And so we work with other campus organizations to co-host events. We did an event with the Bike Coop on campus to fix bikes. And we partnered with Alianza Shelter in Holyoke to provide, we did a food and toiletries drive for them. And every week we are at the campus, the student run farmers market tabling where people can shop. It's a really, really fun. If you've been to a campus student farmers market, definitely come check it out. Slide. But having this physical space turned out to be more important than we really realized, because having a physical space for sustainability programs like this turns out really improves the resilience of your campus and the community when tragedy or crises strike. So I don't know if folks have heard. Leah, I'm assuming that we're not going to play this video, right?
Yeah, Kat will put a link to it in the chat.
Yeah. So you may have heard that the Friday before last, we had a really huge, terrible fire on an off-campus housing complex just on the edge of our campus, and 232 students lost their housing. The entire place burned down. Fortunately, not a soul was hurt, but everybody lost all of their things and their home. So the campus community and the broader Amherst community has rallied incredibly in support of these students. So you can go to the next slide. And having the New to You space, we're already set up to receive donations. And so we just sort of changed gears and made it really big again. So we put out a bunch of Gaylord boxes. We made campus communications, and we became the centralized donation location for all donations coming in to the Olympia Place Fire students. Everything except food. Food went to the campus food pantry. Another example of having important infrastructure in place that improves resilience, because that just opened in September. But yeah, so we were allowed to bring in all of these donations, and you can go to the next slide. Turn our back room, which is typically a hangout space, into a giant thrift store. So everything in the back room here is just for Olympia residents. They can come and shop for all of the things they need: clothing, shoes, toiletries. There's some bedding and some towels and some other household items back here. But they can come as many times as they want, take as much as they need, and this will be available to them as long as they need it. And then they're also receiving from New to You a $100 voucher that they can use in the store on regular thrift store things that we had before this all transpired. Slide. So yeah, that is it. So if you want to plug into New to You, you can volunteer with us. You can check us out on Instagram at newtoyou.umass. You can advocate for reuse in your area and for New to You receiving more space, because we need more space on campus. And you can find all of that information via this link, or you can shoot a picture of that QR code right now and get to the link. So yeah, that's everything. Thank you.
Thanks, Lori. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for a second and just open it up to everybody's faces. I know we're at 7:30, but if anybody wants to hang on for a couple minutes, if there are any other questions that have come in.
Yeah, we have a couple of questions. And before I get to them, I'm just putting the registration for the upcoming 2 webinars in the chat. So before you leave, if you want to register for those 2, Leah discussed them a bit. Please join us tomorrow and the next day. Okay, so for the Q&A. First question is for Lori. Is the thrift shop open to the general public? I think a lot of people are interested in that, and Janice wants that leg lamp. So
Yeah, everybody wants a leg lamp. We also have the front of a Jeep, not for sale. The Nudia thrift store is open to the public. So just by proximity, we largely serve campus community and students. But we are open to the public. Anybody can come and shop. You can come from near or far, but as long as we're open, you are welcome to come. We're open Wednesday through Friday from 12 to 5. Come anytime.
Thank you.
Yeah.
A question for Asia. Is the demand for your reconditioned or upcycled mattresses roughly on par with the supply that you're getting?
Yeah, good question. So I think we accumulated quite a bit of inventory before we really ramped up on the resale side, to be honest. So we hold currently an inventory around 350, and that's between box springs and mattresses. Now, both in the amount of mattresses that we have to be able to upcycle and what we sell monthly, we're kind of turning over that about 100 mattresses that I was saying we can go through and do the upcycling process for, but we're still holding this inventory of about 300. So that was actually part of our motivation to invest in the machinery that would allow us to roll and pack and to expand that network, that market, because locally we weren't seeing the demand for everything that we were able to put together, but we knew it existed somewhere. We just had to find them and find out how to get it there. So we were definitely seeing increases in the demand, as also people know that we exist. But that's kind of on us. And I do suspect, though, at some point we would tap out our local market. And so this machinery and being able to access other places around the US felt important to the sustainability of it.
Cool. Yeah, side note, seeing that video of the roll and packer, I've always wanted to know how they get it into the box and how it gets all the air out. So that was really cool to see. So thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
There were 2 questions that Amber had answered, but I just wanted to read it out loud so everyone could hear what they were. There was a question of, has there been success with restaurants using reusable containers for takeout? And Amber answered that yes, she works with recyclable, and they launched reuse containers at 4 restaurants in the Northampton region, and Recyclable also works with restaurants in the Boston area. So those are restaurants that are using reusables, which is cool. She also answered a question, would it be legal for consumers to bring their own containers to restaurants for their immediate use for their own takeout? And her response was, it is legal to bring your own container for doggy bag items, but restaurants are private establishments and could have their own policies. So you could bring a Tupperware and put your leftovers in it, but the restaurant may not like it. So just keep that in mind when you're out there trying to do your best.
Yeah, and I would just clarify on that. So you can bring your own container for like taking your own leftovers. That's fine. But the establishment may not like it. They could have their own policies. But what you can't do is go to a restaurant and say, hey, I'd like a slice of pizza. Put that in my container. You can, however, do that with bring your own cup, and the reason is because there's a no touch policy, like of dispensing liquid, so there's like a whole health code with that. So yeah, it's a little different, but you can bring it for your own doggy bag, but you can't have them prepare food and put it in your container, which is why Recyclable has their program which eliminates that and allows for containers to be reusable like that. if that helps.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate it. A question again for Asia. How do you eliminate the cells, I guess the things that accumulate in the life of a mattress? So I think you did touch on like your sanitizing process a bit. Could you just reiterate some of that for us?
Yeah. Yeah. And just to clarify, we would never try to resell a mattress over 10 years old. And frankly, they do get super gnarly. And so I think we also notice the wear on this, the super old mattresses, and there's a relative percentage on the older the mattress is when you dispose of it, the less of it we can salvage. So even the like cotton topper, wears away. If it's been sitting in a dusty basement, and we can no longer try to use that essential material. So that's on the recycling side. And so I guess to answer that, it just becomes more unrecyclable material. But on the upcycling side, again, these are only the much newer mattresses that we're even going to try to save. But that is what the SteriFab is for. And it is for, again, those mites, viruses, mold, mildew, bed bugs, all the things. And it's non-toxic to humans, frankly, when if ever there is concern about on the recycling side, a mattress that has come in, and touched bed bugs, we spray down our individuals as well, because it kills them on contact. So it's kind of our go-to peace of mind, because nobody wants to take anything home. But we also use it on the resale side, just so that, rest assured, anything that might have been, exposed in the area that the mattress was held has been killed.
Good to know. Thank you.
You're welcome.
There was a question for Lori that she answered, but again, I just wanted to read it out loud. Does UMass Boston have a thrift store or something similar? And Lori answered that no, she doesn't believe that UMass Boston has a thrift store, but UMass Dartmouth has a free thrift store on campus, which is really cool, because I kind of wish when I went to college there was something like that nearby, but there wasn't. So happy for these students. And then final question in the Q&A, is there a list of restaurants that do provide reusable containers for return? Anyone know?
As in they do reusable takeout? Yeah, the only ones that I'm aware of are the ones that are working with recyclable right now. And so if you download their app, there are the 4 that we just launched in Western Mass, and then there are handfuls around the Boston area. There are also many colleges doing this same type of program, but on their college campuses. I am not aware of any other reusable for takeout other than recyclable in this region. There is a different one called Rogue to Go in Oregon. And in Martha's Vineyard, there is also another one, and I'm blanking on the name. So they're out there. They're few, they're far between. That's the one that's closest to where I am. So
Yeah. Well, thanks everyone for hopping on tonight and spending time with us talking about all things reuse. There's so much more out there to explore. Definitely check us out on social media if you're on there, both Instagram and Facebook. We do all sorts of reuse related posts to try and help spread the word and celebrate all the great reuse and recycling and all those other R's that's happening around Mass. So thanks everyone. Thanks to our speakers.
See you tomorrow.
So we'll see you tomorrow, and have a good night.